Hello everybody, yes, we are live and we have got a lot to get into. So yes, Honda been threatening / negotiating on behalf of Yuki Tsunoda to try and retain his seat in Formula One. Things have changed throughout the day. There are reports that, well, officially, Red Bull will be announcing their driver lineup tomorrow. But there was a high-level meeting in Qatar, meetings with Honda. It's all been going on. Honda basically throwing the weight around, trying to secure Yuki the drive. It's all going on. Plus, we've got the Qatar Grand Prix roundup, the McLaren misstep. What a misstep it was, making Abu Dhabi slightly more exciting than we thought it was going to be. Lots to get into. Also, Kimi Antonelli, the accusations and death threats that Kimi Antonelli's been receiving after the Qatar Grand Prix. We're going to get into all of it. It's a jam-packed show. So if you are watching and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. If you do enjoy the video at any point, please smash a like on it. And also make sure you've got the little notification bell on so you can keep up to date with all of the content. But before we start, let's get into the chat. Let's see who's here. Hey, Kyle. Nice to have you with us. Gemma, Queen of the Chat. Mark's with us. Yes, DG24. How are you, my mate? Good to have you in the chat. If you are watching and you've not got in the chat yet, say hello. Everyone is a very friendly bunch. Let us know where you're watching from. So before we get into the Qatar Grand Prix roundup, I've got to get into the story from today. So today, I broke the story that Honda were basically throwing the weight around. Okay, at Red Bull, basically trying to influence the Red Bull decision. They were doing it over this weekend, trying to influence the senior management of Red Bull, which is Helmut Marko, who's making the driver decisions for next year for Racing Bulls and Red Bull, to choose Yuki over Liam Lawson. Now, what leverage did they have? Well, it all comes down to the TPC program, which is vital to every Formula One team. TPC program, in a nutshell, is testing previous cars. As we know, Honda have supplied those engines to Red Bull's previous cars. Now, all of this testing comes outside of the F1 cost cap, which is what makes this interesting, because the FIA have said that manufacturers have to support TPC. They have to, because it's where it's such an important part of Formula One, because new drivers get to experience the F1 cars, get up to pace. It helps bring new drivers through. And the rookies as well, who are driving for their first seasons, they need that extra testing time. It's 20 days a year in the TPC program. And they use those cars. They basically Frankenstein these cars sometimes with different parts, aero parts that they can use to test on those cars. They allow the new drivers to do an unlimited amount of mileage if you're a reserve driver or a test driver, which is what you want. You want them to get those laps under the belt, and also your main drivers can do 4 of those days and have up to 1,000 kilometers of testing each as well. So it's vital to the sport. Now, what Honda were basically saying is, well, if you want a favorable deal on TPC, or maybe we'll even fund it, you take Yuki. Now, that was their leverage. Now, the problem you've got is that, one, Red Bull do have a ton of money. So even though, because you've got to remember, it doesn't really matter what the TPC testing costs Red Bull, because out of their $215 million a year cost cap, the TPC testing doesn't come out of that. So what it leaves, it basically leads to price gouging, if you like. It means that Honda can go, ooh, well, we'll do the testing, but it's going to cost you this. And that was their leverage. And I think the negotiation went, look, listen, we will support the cars, but we want Yuki in those cars. But the thing was, would that have been fair? Did Yuki do enough to secure a drive? Now, I think a lot of people, this does split the room. I've noticed from my video earlier today, there are some people who support Yuki staying on the grid. I like Yuki as a person, but I think if I was going clearly on merit, if it's a head-to-head between Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda in the Racing Bulls seat, because we know Arvid Lindblad is getting promoted into the Racing Bulls seat. Well, we're 99% sure until they announce it officially tomorrow, but we're 99% sure. Okay, so they've been fighting it out head to head, Yuki or Liam, because we're also 99% sure that Isaac Hadjar gets the Red Bull seat alongside Max Verstappen. So when we compare these two drivers, the obvious comparison is, well, Liam's P14, Yuki's P15 in the driver's standings. Well, yeah, okay, Liam has outperformed there. But the real, I think, metrics that we should look at are how well Liam Lawson has done this season. And we know he's made rookie mistakes. He has. He's done some stupid shit. He'll admit himself if he's done some stupid shit, but he's quick and he's shown pace at the right time. He's shown mental strength when he joined Red Bull, had a couple of Grand Prix. Liam Lawson was awful. They dropped him and then went back into the Racing Bulls. And then he's paired with the best rookie on the field. And Isaac Hadjar's been good all season. We can all agree that Hadjar's probably the best rookie of the season. So the only way to really compare how has Liam Lawson performed this season, I think, is from this little graph here. Now, this is the one I think is most important. As you can see, from round 11, which was just halfway through the season, up until round 23, which was Qatar, Liam Lawson has beat Hadjar 7 times, finished higher than Hadjar in the Grand Prix 7 times. Lawson is the orange line. The grey line is Hadjar. Hadjar has beaten Lawson 6 times on that head-to-head. Now, the reason why I'm comparing those two rather than Lawson and Tsunoda is because, one, everyone knows Hadjar is the best rookie in exactly the same car as Lawson, and Lawson's beaten him. He's 1 up from the second half of the season. And you can't then say, well, Lawson's not been performing well. He has made some rookie mistakes. It's only his first full season in Formula One, but he has got room to grow. The problem with Lawson is not everybody likes him. He's a bit abrasive. He's a bit aggressive. Comes across a little bit cocky. And because he hasn't won anything yet, we don't like those attributes in a driver. But once that driver becomes great, wins a world championship, then we like those attributes in a driver. We like the confidence. We like the cockiness. We like the aggression. Max Verstappen's cocky and aggressive, but everyone seems to know like him, and it helps his drive. But with Lawson, he's a bit divisive. Not everyone likes him. Whereas Yuki, everyone likes him as a person. Anyway, so that's why I think that comparison is really important. So for me, Lawson deserves. Oh. Lawson deserves the drive. The reason why I'm laughing is in the corner of my eye, I just saw Gemma's super chat. She did a super chat just to tell me I'd left my AirPod in my ear, which I've just flicked out. I do that so much. It's crazy. No one's talking to me in it. It's just in it from when I was talking to people on my phone before the stream. Thanks, Gemma. Thanks for spending £2 on that to tell me that. Do you want to ask another question to get value out of your super chat? Don't forget to get your super chats in. But yeah, and the thing is, I don't like seeing people lose their drive. Okay, but I also don't like bullying, and I don't like people using their power just for their own ends. I don't like the FIA doing it. I don't like Honda doing it. I don't like drivers getting on the grid just because. I'm talking about Cole. Let's be straight. I'm talking about Cole Lapinto here. Cole Lapinto, huge fan base in South America, but huge money behind him. Cole Lapinto hasn't done enough to keep his drive. If it was Cole Lapinto at Alpine or Yuki deserves that drive, right? But Cole Lapinto brings all this money, and Alpine have re-signed him for next year. And I think anything like that in Formula One ruins it for me. I just want to see the best drivers on the grid on merit. So that brings me to this whole point about Honda trying to influence the decision for Yuki. Now, here's what I think's actually going to happen. I do think they tried to throw the weight around. I think Helmut Marko listened to what they were saying, their leverage. And I think tomorrow, this is what I think's going to happen when they announce the drivers. I think it will be Liam Lawson. And I think it will be Arvid Lindblad racing in the Racing Bulls. I think it'll be Isaac Hadjar and Max Verstappen for Red Bull. And I think the deal that Helmut Marko will have struck for for the TPC program, the testing previous car program, which is vital to have that relationship with Honda. I think they're going to say, look, the best we can do for Yuki is offer him a reserve driver role. And if I was Yuki, I'd take it. Now, this is in no way casting shade over Yuki. I think if we look at Valtteri Bottas, who's done that role at Mercedes and been on the grid, well, he secured a drive at Cadillac. He's back on the grid next year. Drivers can come back. Alexander Albon was dropped to the reserve driver role at Red Bull. He's now driving for Williams, as we know. So if I was Yuki, I would take that. If I want to stay in Formula One, if that's the offer on the table tomorrow, I would take that job as reserve driver. You don't know what's going to happen. Max, Hadjar, accidents happen. You can step in. You can be quick in testing. Who knows what happens with Arvid Lindblad? Like, being in and around a 4-car team as a reserve driver is not a bad place to be. Because you got to remember, it's a 4-car team, right? You've got 2 at Racing Bull, 2 at Red Bull, and you're the reserve driver at Red Bull. Any one of those 4 drivers, anything happens, you know, you're in, aren't you? So that's what I think. But I think that's the way that story's going to pan out. But Honda did try and throw the weight around. We'll see tomorrow. If there's a magic event tomorrow where the driver announcement says, and we're all surprised by it, that Yuki Tsunoda gets the drive at Racing Bulls and Liam Lawson somehow is a reserve driver, I think we'll know that Honda have influenced that decision in a massive way. But we won't know until the announcement. Apparently the announcement's coming tomorrow, so we will find out. But yeah, that if you're anything like me, I don't like these power plays. I don't like decisions being made that are political, geographical, because a driver brings a ton of money. But that's Formula One. You know, rookies have to bring a lot of money with them. People like Felipe Drugovich, you know, he wins F2, doesn't get a drive in F1. I mean, that's common. It's how much money you bring with you. And Cole Pinto, you know, is an example of that. Now, I want to see the fastest drivers competing. Right, I'm going to come to the chat because loads of you have been chatting. Yes, Kyle, I'm coming to that. Kyle says lifetime ban for Marco for the Kimi comments. Right, that's coming up a little bit later. I know exactly what you're talking about. We are coming to that. It's good to see. Stevie boy, welcome to the chat. Yeah, Yuki should absolutely leave the Red Bull family. If he loses his seat, surely another team would offer him a reserve role. Stevie, I think you're right. I think Honda's involvement at Aston Martin in the future could bear fruit. I just think Yuki, if he stays around Formula One, there could be an opportunity for him. Because don't forget, 27... It's only 26 that all the driver seats are taken. In 2027, we're going to see a silly season when it comes to the driver market. Oliver Behrman might be moving into a Ferrari seat. Well, that leaves a seat open at Haas. Charles Leclerc could be at Aston Martin. Lance Stroll could be gone. Fernando Alonso could be gone. I doubt Lance Stroll will be gone, but Fernando Alonso could move. There's a lot of things that can happen. Cadillac, we don't know what... I mean, okay, Perez and Bottas are on 2-year deals. Audi, Bortoletto's on a 1-year deal next year. Hulkenberg got a 1-year deal next year. So there's a lot that could happen. There's a lot that can happen. So if I was Yuki, if the best that's on offer is a reserve driver role at the Red Bull family, well, you've got 4 drivers there where you could step in for at some point in the season. So if it was me, and that's what it is for Yuki, I'd take it. But if tomorrow we're all surprised that Yuki's got the Racing Bull seat, then we know Honda have somehow got their tentacles into the Dark Lord, Helmut Marko, and basically, get what they want out of him. And they've struck a deal because of the testing previous car program. Hey, Encryption, nice to have you on in the chat. We've got loads of new faces. Love it. Let me know where you're watching from. So Encryption says, oh, this is DT. DT, you've got more YouTube accounts than I've had hot dinners. This is great. Why is it not letting you message? It's so weird. DT, I'm glad you're in there, though. Best thing on YouTube. Very. I'm going to check. I don't know why it's doing that. I haven't touched anything, just to be clear. I've not touched anything I've never blocked anything or anyone. I don't even know. I'm new to YouTube. I have no idea how it works. Just so you know, DT. DT's an OG. Founding member is DT. Right, so I will get on to... Anyway, so that's covered what's going on with Honda, Yuki and Lawson. We'll do the announcement tomorrow as we get it. But now let's get into Qatar. Qatar. So we're going to start with... Oh my gosh, what happened? Oscar Piastri. I mean, listen, the McLaren misstep. What were they thinking? And if you don't know, so safety car, lap 7, 57 lap race, mandatory 2 stops, 25 lap maximum on the tyres. So when the safety car came out on for lap 7, what did every driver on the grid do? They came into the pits. They were stacked as well. So whoever was the lead driver for each team went in first. Second driver would wait, go into the pits, and they all changed the tyres. Why? Because it's basically a free pit stop. It meant they could do one more stop and go to the end of the race. So everyone came in, except McLaren. Except McLaren. After Oscar Piastri had done a flawless weekend, fastest in practice, fastest sprint qualifying, fastest sprint race, fastest in qualifying, fastest. It's just like, wow, what a decision. Now, I can only wonder, because you've got Oscar Piastri, P1 at this point, Lando Norris, P2. Was he P2 or P3? He was P2, wasn't he? Looking good. McLaren 1-2. Max Verstappen P3. Yeah, so McLaren had the opportunity to pit both drivers. They would have had to have... So the way it works like this, both drivers would have come down the pit lane almost at the same time, because it's lap 7. There's only like maybe 1.2 seconds between Oscar and Lando. Pit stop on average, 2.2 seconds. So it would mean that your second driver has to wait momentarily to get into the pits to have his tyres changed. What McLaren decided was, rather than do that, even though every other team did that, they could have then gone, do you know what, Oscar's P1. We can just pit him then. If we don't want to stack Lando, because we don't want to, he might lose some track position, we'll just bring in Oscar in. They didn't. They left them both out. And what that meant was, that one decision meant they were 25 seconds behind everybody else from the restart after the safety car. It was the rookiest of rookie errors. And the person that Lando, obviously, result for him is that, well, Oscar's got points on him, but worse, Max Verstappen got points on him. Like, it was just, you know, so now there's only 12 points between Verstappen and Lando Norris, which makes it exciting for us, for Abu Dhabi, but what a team error. And was it because Lando's leading the championship that they were so scared to allow Piastri to come in first to pit when everyone else was pitting, and he thought Lando would lose track position from P2 to maybe P4 behind Max? But so what? So what? You know, he could have easily... The McLaren's faster. Losing track position is nowhere near as bad as losing 25 seconds by not pitting. It was crazy. Crazy decision. Yeah, Legend says, horrible McLaren. I have no idea who made that decision. I can only imagine it was either Zach Brown or Andrea Stella. But it was absolutely insane. Are they so scared of upsetting Lando that they decided, we'll keep it fair, boys. You can both stay out and you can both ultimately get a 25-second penalty each, right? By not pitting. It was absolutely insane. It's like as if we all put together a Formula One team as our first weekend, and we didn't realize the rules, right? It was just everybody else go, hang on a minute, the maths aren't that difficult. We're on lap 7, do a pit stop now. I can do my 25 laps, I have 25 laps left. I can do one pit stop to end the race. Perfect. I was shouting. Whoever was watching the stream, I was just like, I was beside myself with that decision. It was absolutely horrible. Livewire says McLaren decision making on par with Ferrari. Not far off, mate. I mean, God, don't get me started on Ferrari. Sema, love how it's going down to the very last race. If Lando wins, it will feel like an empty win. Even Oscar now, which hurts me to say. Max and RBR deserve another title. I'm just glad, right? Honestly, as the neutral, right? As someone that loves Formula One, and I'm here for the entire excitement. I'm glad Abu Dhabi is going to be exciting for us. I'm glad we get to watch the Grand Prix where there is genuine jeopardy now that Lando could lose it. I mean, who's to say Lando doesn't have an off? Right, and have the DNF. And then, you know, Oscar and Max fighting it out. Because, let's have a quick look. So the actual drivers' standings now. Lando Norris on 408 points, Max Verstappen 396 points, and Oscar Piastri on 392 points. So let's put it this way. Lando Norris has a DNF. Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri, 4 points in it. They fight it out. Winner takes all, baby. Right? It could get very, very spicy, couldn't it? It could. Like, so Abu Dhabi could get super spicy and we can all enjoy it together. So, yeah, there's no... Here's the thing, though. There's no explanation. The McLaren debacle, there is no explanation that anyone is going to be happy with. Is there? That's the thing. It's just somebody, somewhere, has made the worst decision for both of their drivers, for Piastri and Lando. It's a huge error. But yeah, did you enjoy it, by the way? Did you enjoy the Qatar Grand Prix? Unfortunately, there's no freaking overtaking, is there? I don't think Abu Dhabi's going to be better. Abu Dhabi's going to be better. More overtaking in Abu Dhabi. But yeah. So Sema, not a big fan of Andrea Stella. Yeah, it's hard to know who's making the decisions. Is it Stella? Is it Zach Brown? So Mark says Zach went into the press conference and gave Oscar a huge hug. I wonder why. Did Oscar hug him back? Because one of my favourite moments of this season is when McLaren won the constructors and Zach Brown's going, "Congratulations, guys!" Was it Monza? Yeah, and it's like, we won the constructors, and then before Zach had even finished talking, you just got Oscar Piastri red buttoning Zach by unplugging his comms, taking his wheel off. It was just like, I wonder if he did the same thing when Zach Brown went to give him a hug. It's your fault, Zach, that I've not. If I was Oscar, it's like you just stolen a victory off me, and I had a flawless weekend up until then, and the team stole it from me. And live wire, that's true. Max switching to the hard compound early was genius. Yeah, and do you know what? He was still quick on the hards as well, wasn't he? Yeah, it was a good move. It was a good move. And Sema says he'll be very spicy for us. It will. Abu Dhabi, baby. I'm here for it. It's going to be so good. Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with the chat. Yeah, and you're lying, you're right. Any of these circuits where there's no overtaking, it's no fun for us, is it? And Kyle says most races are over after lap 1. This one wasn't over until lap 7. Exactly. The safety car changed everything for us. But yeah, you know, next season, I hope, even though I'm totally against the electrification of a Formula One car. I'm so against 50% electrification, I can't even tell you. But if they have solved the DRS train and they've solved, you know, and the racing's closer and there's overtaking opportunities, they've got this little boost button which allows them to get that extra battery power to overtake or defend, and the drivers can use that when they see fit rather than just sort of DRS zones. I'm here for it. You know, I want racing to be more exciting. I want the drivers to have more autonomy of the vehicle. I want them to choose. I want them to choose when they can have the extra power. As much as they're going to have to manage the regenerative battery, sort of how to manage the battery using the regenerative braking is going to be a big part of it. But as long as they've got the power when they need it to overtake or defend, I hope that's available to them. I want to see closer racing. I want more overtakes. I want wheel-to-wheel round Eau Rouge. You know, I want high-speed corners overtake. I don't just want to see the end of the straight going into turn one. There's your overtake. None of us really want that. You know, we want wheel-to-wheel racing. And that's what we hope we'll get next year. So, well, that's what we hope. We've got no idea. Brand new rule regulation change. We don't know who's going to be quick either. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait. Cannot wait for Melbourne. And by the way, if you are new to the channel, please smash a like on the video if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you haven't yet already. And make sure you've got the little notification bell tick so you can keep up to date with all of our content. And yes, of course, we're going to resolve who was driver of the weekend. Who was dipstick of the weekend. We're going to be doing that in just a moment as well. So, but first of all, let's just talk. Let's just go through very quickly the race results. So it was interesting, right? Max Verstappen, obviously P1. Oscar Piastri, P2. Carlos Sainz got a podium in a Williams, P3. Lando Norris, P4. Kimi Antonelli. Now, we need to talk about him. Kimi Antonelli, P5. After letting Lando Norris through. Did he let him through? Helmut Marko, did he let him through? Well, Helmut Marko got himself in some hot water, didn't he? Helmut Marko accused Kimi Antonelli on the last lap of letting Lando Norris through. Just, there you go, Lando. You can go past me. I don't care about the points. And do you know what? And from these comments from the Red Bull camp, even Max's engineer also said, I don't know what happened. It just seems like Kimi Antonelli let him through. And Kimi Antonelli's been getting death threats about it. Right. Kimi Antonelli did not let Lando through. He made a mistake. Simple as that. But Red Bull were, on the team radio saying he let him through on purpose. Helmut Marko said he let him through on purpose. Now, Helmut Marko doesn't apologise for much. He has apologised. And Toto Wolff, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Toto Wolff's comments that made him apologise. Because let me tell you what the Wolf, said. And he's on it. I like Toto in a lot of ways. So this is what Toto said. He said, I'll tell you exactly what Marko said. Marko said, the first time Antonelli could have put up a bit more of a fight. The second time it was a driver error, not intentional. I'm sorry that Antonelli got so much flack online. To make it perfectly clear, he did not let Norris past intentionally. That was basically his apology from Helmut Marko. And Toto Wolff basically dismissed Marko's comments, said it's total nonsense. Bless him, Wolff said. Helmut, this is total utter nonsense. That blows my mind even to hear that. We're fighting for P2 in the championship, which is important for us. Kimi is fighting for a potential P3. How brainless can you be to even say something like this? It annoys me because I'm annoyed with the race itself, how it went. I'm annoyed with the mistake at the end. I'm annoyed with other mistakes. And then hearing such nonsense blows my mind. So Toto Wolff, in defending Kimi Antonelli, saying he didn't let him through, he made a mistake, and I'm really pissed off about that mistake, along with other mistakes. But I'm not having you telling me that he did it on purpose. Like, Toto I like the fact that he came out and said it, but still, even in sticking up for Kimi Antonelli, he still said he still made a mistake, and he made other mistakes, and I'm pissed off about it. So I just found Toto's response good and funny at the same time. Poor Kimi though, getting death threats, but Toto, the way he handled it, Marko, you're brainless, you're full of shit. But Kimi made a mistake, and by the way, he made lots of mistakes, too many mistakes, and I'm pissed off about it. So it was, that's Toto putting the world to rights. But listen, Kimi Antonelli should not be getting death threats for Lando Norris passing him on the last lap. Like, we're all frustrated. Like, we all wanted him to keep Lando behind him, right? We wanted to keep that fight because a 10-point gap would have been far more exciting than a 12-point gap. But look, It's a racing. It's racing. Lando was on fresher tires. He was quicker than Kimi. You know, his tires are dropping off, and yeah, it's totally. If anyone watching this stream is responsible for giving Kimi Antonelli death threats, stop it. He doesn't deserve it. It wasn't his fault. So yeah, Kyle says, I love how everyone was mentioning that Williams got a podium on the anniversary of Williams' death like it's a tribute. Williams dead, let's celebrate. Do you know what? I'd missed that, Kyle. How embarrassing. Was it Frank Williams? I did not know. I missed all that. Well, I missed all that. I didn't realise that was the anniversary of Frank Williams' death. Wow. I am pleased for Carlos Sainz, and I'll be coming to him in just a minute. You might have an idea why, because we still got to resolve Driver of the Weekend, baby, and Dipstick of the Weekend. Ooh. Who was Dipstick of the Weekend? Who do you think it was? Get your votes in now. Get your votes in now. And let's see if we're on the same page. So yeah, should I start with Dipstick or Driver? Let's start with Driver of the Weekend, because I think, look, this is the easy one. So it's the 4th anniversary of his death, Kyle. Right. Well, we're going to come to Driver of the Weekend then. Should be no surprise. It should be no surprise who I chose. And I have to say, it's different to what Sky Sports F1 chose. They chose Max Verstappen. Too obvious. Come on, that's how does Max Verstappen get Driver of the Weekend? I mean, yes, he's done well, but come on. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Driver of the Weekend had to be Carlos Sainz. He was on fire. P3 in a Williams, a podium in a Williams. Come on. What were they thinking? Had to be Carlos Sainz, didn't it? Now, let's be honest. Yeah, Legend. Smooth operator. And drip. Everyone's the same. Smooth operator. That is obviously Carlos. Now, I am so pleased for Carlos Sainz, because the first half of this season was just all the way up to Baku. Nightmare. He was on 16 points, whereas Alexander Albon was on 70 points. Carlos Sainz has absolutely done brilliantly in the second half of this season. Now, he's managed to... Carlos Sainz currently sits on 64 points. Alexander Albon is now only on 73 points. Let that sink in. Before Baku, the midway point, Carlos Sainz was on 16 points and Alexander Albon was on 70 points. That means Carlos Sainz has scored 48 points to Alexander Albon's 3 points in the second half of this season. He has absolutely found his groove. And it bodes well, because speaking about Williams and the fact that the good old days where Frank Williams was at the helm, Nigel Mansell, Red 5, winning world championships, Damon Hill, Jacques Villeneuve, Alain Prost, winning titles, constructors titles with Adrian Newey designed cars, Patrick Head, and, you know, Frank Williams. Like, those days, if you've followed Formula One back to the 80s and 90s, like some of you may have done, Williams was a garagista team. And if you know the term, it was like literally small garage, private money, you know, a garagista team, you know, beating everybody, beating your Ferraris. It was wild times. It truly was wild times. And so the fact that we've got to give JV some credit. Involves has gone into that team. Williams were P19 when he joined, got them up to a P5 team. And when we see, you know, Williams performing that well to getting on a podium, this is great. It's the evolution of a heritage team, Williams. And next year, I hope Williams get it right. They've got the Mercedes power unit. They've got, you know, two good drivers. Even though Albon's not had the greatest second half of the season, he's a decent driver. Carlos Sainz finding his groove within that team. If they've put a good car around them, around that great engine, which we think Mercedes engine is going to be in 26, then Carlos Sainz, you're going to see him getting more podiums. Because 26, nobody knows who's going to be quick. We've got our ideas. we've definitely got our ideas. We have our best guess because of the people who are developing these brand new cars, the engine manufacturers who are supplying the engines, and the people behind the teams. We've got our best guess. But until Melbourne next year, we just don't know. But the fact that Williams have got another podium and Carlos Sainz is there, and he, by the way, his dad was there as well. Carlos Sainz Sr. was there. Did you see him? And you know, Carlos Sainz Sr. is a rally legend. I mean, God, it wasn't that many years ago. I don't know how old he is, but it wasn't that many years ago that he won the blooming Dakar. Carlos Sainz Sr. is a legend, and he managed to get that podium in front of his dad. I don't know. Driver of the weekend for me. And yeah, and Sema says amazingly clinched fifth in the constructors. It's true. And Sema says, this is an interesting point. Sema says Carlos ahead of both Ferraris again. True. I reckon Ferrari, there's a lot of people in the Ferrari garage who would have liked to have seen Carlos Sainz stay. Carlos Sainz has, by the way, has not ruled out a return to Ferrari one day. He hasn't. He has said that it is possible that he would go back to Ferrari one day. Maybe he will. Maybe he will. Maybe he's only got his contract only to the end of next season, I think, at Williams. And that's what I'm saying about the driver market, which is why, going back to my earlier story about Yuki, staying in and around Formula One, 27, there's going to be a lot of things changing. A lot of drivers moving. It's going to be a crazy driver market at the end of next year. And seats will open up. Seats will open up. That's why, going back to my earlier Yuki story, why I think he should, if the reserve seat is what the best he's got, he should take it. He should take it. So that's driver of the weekend. But who is the F1 Grandstand dipstick of the weekend? I'll give you a moment to guess who I'm going to choose. Who do you think it is? Get in the chat and tell me who you think dipstick of the weekend, the award for dipstick of the weekend is going to be. It's going to be your favourite, Lance Stroll. Now, why? Well, first of all, why is Lance Stroll the dipstick of the weekend? Well, special mention to his teammate, Fernando Alonso, who actually was brilliant this weekend in the Aston Martin. And just before we get into talking about Fernando Alonso's results, he finished P7, he qualified P8 for the race. Unfortunately, Lance Stroll could only manage P18. He couldn't find the pace in the Aston Martin. Now, here's the thing. Adrian Newey was trackside in Qatar. And Adrian Newey was talking about Fernando Alonso to Sky F1. And he was being asked questions about Fernando Alonso and the performance of the Aston Martin. Said, oh, you know, I think it was Ted Kravitz who said, the performance of the Aston Martin looks really good. And Adrian just sort of slyly said, he said, well, yeah, you know, the car, we've just done a bit of tuning on it. That's it. A bit of tuning, which made me think, the first time Adrian Newey's there, race weekend, trackside, in the garage, I just had this vision of Adrian Newey going up to Fernando Alonso's car going, that's what's been wrong with it all along. A little bit of fettling. Oh, why have you not done this? And then all of a sudden Fernando Alonso's finding this extra pace. But then I thought, well, if there was any fettling with Fernando Alonso's car, they would have done it to Lance Stroll's car. But Lance Stroll just had a horrible, horrible weekend. But it wasn't just Lance Stroll's poor performance that wins him dipstick of the weekend. It's this. Let me tell you that. Did anyone pick up on this? So this is from Andrew Benson from BBC Sport. I didn't realise this was going on. So Aston Martin driver Lance Stroll has apologised to motorsport's governing body for his behaviour after qualifying at last weekend's Qatar Grand Prix. Stroll threw his steering wheel out of his car and shoved his trainer out of the way after qualifying 16th. The 24-year-old was under investigation by the FIA's compliance officer for potentially breaking F1 rules. The FIA maintains a zero tolerance stance against misconduct and condemns any actions that may lead to physical harassment. What? And then also when you saw him in the press conference, Lance Stroll admitted to being in a rut. It's not getting better. And he said, hated having a bad day. That's obviously amplified by the fact that Fernando Alonso, 44 years old, rinsing every bit of performance out of the Aston Martin, which, by the way, has had no upgrades in the last 7 races at all. So Lance Stroll had literally got out of the car after qualifying, physically abused his personal trainer, who would have gone over to go, how you doing? You all right? Threw his steering wheel out the car like a spoiled tantrum. I missed all this. So I only caught this from BBC News. That I didn't know this was going on. But absolutely, Lance Stroll, 100%. Sema says, spoilt little brat. Hey, Daily Focus, nice to have you in the chat. Always joining a bit late, though. Why are you here so late? So hands down, Lance Stroll is the dipstick of the weekend. But I didn't know any of that had gone on. What does Lawrence say? Like, if that was your son, what would Lawrence say to his son? You'd be like, you spoilt little shit. Wouldn't you? Because I don't think Lawrence, who's obviously hugely successful businessman and hard ass, you obviously love your kids. But if your kid's behaving like that, surely you're gonna be like, listen, son, don't embarrass me like that, because I will take you out of that seat and I will switch you out for somebody else. So what does Mark says? If his dad didn't own the team, he would have been gone a long time ago. Yeah, but I think you're right. Hey, Shaitan, nice to have you in the chat, my friend. But here's the thing, though. Like, in that situation, you know, anyone, even though you've always look at your kids through rose-coloured glasses and you die for them, but in a situation like that where the world can see it, and it really is, like Sema said, spoilt behaviour. I mean, that is spoilt bratness, isn't it? As a father of that man, you know, at some point you might want to give him a clip round the ear and go, son, this isn't how we do things. You're making me look bad. I already, you know, I've given you a drive. And you probably don't, you know, got to earn that. You got to earn that drive from all the people who didn't get the opportunity. You've got the opportunity. You know, you've got to change. I think, though, here's the thing. I'm not sure that Lance won't throw a tantrum and walk out of Formula One at some point. You know, who's to say that he wouldn't? Like, I know he's got in theory, a job for life, but maybe Lance is sick of being told he's a dipstick. He's got dipstick of the weekend here, which if Lawrence is watching this show, and I think he does sometimes, because he's a big fan of F1 Grandstand, even Lawrence, if you're watching right now, get in the chat. You got to tell me, you got to agree with this one. That is outrageous behaviour from your son. You've got to agree that Lance gets dipstick of the weekend. You've got to. Get your votes in, Lawrence. Let me see it. Shitan says, man, this is the first time we'll have a 3-way fight in this Drivers' Championship down to the season finale since 2010, which was between both Red Bulls, Vettel and Webber, as well as Alonso and Ferrari. Exactly. I'm here for it. I'm here for the excitement. But like, if you watched any of the early video, you'll know that I've scolded McLaren in a big way for those mistakes. But yeah, this weekend is going to be exciting. Make sure you're watching it with me, by the way. Watch alongs, obviously, for practice, qualifying and the race. We can enjoy the action together as we have done last weekend. Shaitan says, also Adrian Newey was at the paddock in Qatar and Lance was so far back against Alonso. Now, Shaitan, that's a point. If Adrian Newey's telling us, and he did tell us, that he'd done some tweaks to Alonso's car, purely from tuning was the word he used, we may have done some tuning to Alonso's car. Did they do it to Lance's car? You know, I'm sure they would have done if they'd found something that worked. But Fernando Alonso has been quicker than Lance a lot. And Fernando Alonso is, you know, he's still got it in him to win one more world champion, one more drivers' championship, in my opinion. And Newey being there again, if you Lance Stroll in front of the MVP of F1 and you're behaving like that, I mean, come on, Lance, you don't do that, mate. So Legend says Lance Stroll's biggest rival isn't on the track. It's the remote control his dad holds over the Aston Martin headquarters. Well, that's true. That's true. Shatan said Alonso even had some moments and he still finished well clear in the points. Don't forget his back. Oh yeah, exactly, Shatan. We were what he did. Do you not remember Alonso's spin? And did you see how he caught it? It was unbelievable. Alonso had a spin. I think it was basically 360, caught it and carried on. It was quite brilliant the way Alonso caught that car from a spin. And yeah, the Aston Martin, obviously the M24, the Aston Martin 25 car is not perfect. We know that. They've stopped developing the car ages ago, halfway through the season. Adrian Newey's not had his hands on that car. He's only developed the 26 car since he came in March. So, you know, Newey can be like, well, it's not my car, this one. I can help out on race day. Last two race weekends. If there's tuning he can do, I'm sure he will. But he's going to give him a good car in 26. Lance is going to get that good car. And so Lance has got a lot of making up to do. That car next year, I'm sure of it. I'm absolutely convinced. The Newey car, Honda engine, it's going to be a great car. Lance is so privileged to be on the grid in that car in 26. So he needs to show what I believe is in there. But temperament is about character. That's nothing to do with driving. And, you know, that temperament, that disrespect for your trainer and behaving like that, mate, listen, dude, Lance, that has to stop. That has to stop. So yes, that resolves it. Lance Stroll, dipstick of the weekend. Have I missed anything out on tonight's show? No, just a quick reminder. Big day, news day tomorrow for Red Bull Racing and Racing Bulls. Driver announcements are coming tomorrow. So we'll see whether Honda have managed to influence that decision. So keep an eye out. So if you haven't already, make sure you have whacked a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date with all of our content. I will be back tomorrow. Look out for breaking news. Expecting a big day for news tomorrow, and I will see you all tomorrow night at 7:30 GMT, where we can discuss all of it. But thank you so much to everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Ta-ta.